Welcome back to CMA's educational series, So You Want to Write a Song. It's me, Kenny Foster, and we're back for more shenanigans about songwriting than you can shake a stick at. So this is a 5-episode series that probably feels like having your mouth around a fire hose, but we're here on Hump Day, episode 3. We already explored the concept of the big idea in episode 1. And we talked about getting to the bottom of why we wanted to write a song in the first place. What were we trying to say? To whom? For what reason? What should that feel like? Using all the answers to those questions to help us narrow down the very specific points of our big idea. In our last episode, episode 2, we covered some of the rules. We got into the nitty-gritty of vocabulary and structure. We broke structure up into its individual parts like verse, chorus, bridge, and even discussed what each of those parts was doing to serve the big idea. We broke down a song in real time, and we used it as an example of this roadmap, if you will, of how a song can and often is written. So today's episode is titled The Work. And boy, is it ever. See, this is about as thick as I think we're going to get into the machete hacking our way into writing an actual song. See, some of this work we do inherently without even thinking about it, but some of it we just have to suck up and recognize and realize what it is that we're doing, even if it's subconscious, so we can make it all fit together once we bring it to the forefront. We know why things sound right, why things feel right. And we're going to break that down using a few things. Math, I told you, I'm sorry, but it's not bad, don't worry. Poetry. So we're going to talk about rhyme scheme, and we're going to go into some poems today a little bit. And we're also going to talk about painting, which is basically like coloring with words. But before we get into any of that, it's time to get all of my little songbirds from the Harmony Project in Los Angeles. How are you guys? My chickadees. I don't know. Are those songbirds? I don't even know. But it's really good to see you guys. I've been having a lot of fun doing this, and we're here on a day, and you had some homework, and it's time to hear from you guys. So you were supposed to pick a song, a favorite, or just something that you wanted to dig into more and break it down a little bit. So I know that I think we're going to start off with something a little classic from Ms. Angela. Ms. Angela's going to bring us, what song did you bring for us, my dear?
So my playlist was on shuffle, and then this one came up, and I thought it was interesting because it's a conversation between Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson, and they're basically like fighting over this girl.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I thought it was just interesting.
Very cool. Well, hey, let's listen to it. I'm gonna pop my phones on, and then we'll start breaking it down. Okay. Boom. That's it. All right, Ange. Now we talked a little bit about it last time. I'm going to ask you a few questions in the breakdown. Number 1, what is the feel of this song? What do you think the feel is?
Well, I think it's like, I mean, obviously the song is upbeat, right?
Sure.
And it's like just like a happy song. Like it's like playful, and I think that's what helps it kind of be catchy. Besides, like, you know, the hook, it's like the girl is mine. But I think it's like, I when I hear the song, like I'm always like in a good mood, even though like they're kind of arguing, but it's nothing serious.
Okay, so it is playful, because if they really were fighting, they probably wouldn't be having this conversation, right?
Right.
Okay, all right, fair enough. So is it, but that was kind of the point, right? So when they were putting out the song, probably when the song was being written, these arguments are real. The lyric that they're talking about, like, they're talking about their experience with this particular girl. The funny thing is, this girl could be playing them both, for being honest. And maybe that was the point, you know, maybe that's it. So the feel is playful. It's not confrontational. Great. And we know that by the instrumentation, by the smooth jams, and even by the way they deliver it vocally, right? Okay. So what is the structure of this song? So this one varies differently from the last time, but could you identify where our verses, our pre-choruses, and our choruses might have been?
So Michael first comes in and he sings that like chunk before he sings like the girl is mine. That's like the verse, right?
Yep.
And then and I think there's like the introduction, like the song in the beginning, like he doesn't just start singing.
Sure.
And then he goes like directly into the chorus, I think, just like the girl is mine.
There you go. That's an important point. So there's no pre-chorus, and you realize that the chorus is actually quite short.
Yeah.
He does it, he really only does a half chorus. Now that is a trick that some people use a lot because they want to go ahead and get that into your mind, but they know that there's another verse coming before they're going to give you the full breakdown. So
Right.
that's an important point. That was a chorus. You went from a verse to a chorus, but it's a half chorus. So good call there. All right, keep going.
And then Paul McCartney, he comes in like with his like response to Michael,
Yes, thank you.
and then goes right into the chorus. But it's just like this one, instead of like, I know she's mine, he's like, don't waste your time, basically just responding.
Adds a little thing. Great.
Yeah. And then I'm confused about this part because there is like a change in like the melody.
Yes.
So I don't know exactly what that would be, but
Well, it almost sounds like they pulled in a third verse. Am I right?
yeah.
So they had a change in melody, but in order to make it a little more interesting, they did another verse structure, but they did it with a different melody. So would we call that a pre-chorus? Not really sure.
Yeah, I put like pre-chorus question mark because I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
know.
Good. Great.
And then I think either Paul or someone comes in for another verse, but like similar to like the first one, like the structure of the first one.
Yep.
And then it goes right back into the chorus.
Sure. So this is a lot of like, I don't want to get confused because we're going to cover rhyme scheme today, but this is a lot of A, B, A, B. Like the main point of this song is to get back to that chorus, to say the girl is mine, the doggone girl is mine. Because, and they even put the little happy chorus singers behind it. What would you say the bridge, was there a bridge or a solo section in this?
Maybe actually I'm not sure, but I was thinking because I was confused, like maybe that was like where I thought the pre-chorus was.
Okay.
Because it does change up like the whole song. But then after the last chorus I was talking about, there's like this whole like they're just going over and repeating the hook, and then they start talking. Like
Sure.
there's a conversation, and I don't know if that can be considered like an outro.
I think it is. I think you nailed
Yeah.
it. The change that you said with the new person that comes in as that verse, because there is a melody change, I think that's really smart to call that a bridge.
Yeah.
And you see that it differentiated between your verse structure and your chorus structure. So it's giving us something else to listen to, but still driving the point home. If we look at the lyrics there, I believe he says, I don't build your hopes to be let down because I really feel it's time. Is it that part? I know she'll tell you for her because she said it blew her mind, or was that Paul singing
Yeah,
that?
that's the verse like after like that bridge that you mentioned.
Yep. So yeah, I think that's a really good breakdown, especially structurally from feel. So here's the question: what's the big idea for the song? If you were to take it all in context.
That the girl is theirs.
Obviously, because I mean the hook is "The Girl Is Mine," and
Right.
obviously the title of the song, "The Girl Is Mine." But I would almost even say that the big idea was for these two guys to sing together. Number one. So like from a commercial standpoint, they already knew who they were, and they're not going to really fight, but it was a chance for them to give a duet, and they needed to write a song that featured both of them in a way that they could be themselves in a happy, playful manner.
Yeah, I think they also did say at the same time. I don't know if that's the title, but it was definitely like promotional and stuff. Yeah.
So, but that is a reason to write a song sometimes. Like if two artists just want to work together, but like they can't really figure out a way to work it out, like collaborations are ways to share audiences back and forth. And like I would even say that the big idea of this song was to playfully feature two guys that know and like each other. I mean, and if that wasn't part of the public conscience, then like they wouldn't have been able to do that with such great effect. Do you know what I mean? Like it's because of who they were that they were able to write this song. So if you're going to write a duet with somebody brand new that you've never sung before, or you want to write it a little more seriously, you're not going to cover this tune. Do you know what I mean? So I would even say that the big idea is that. Great. Angela, thank you so much. That was a freaking great breakdown.
Thank you.
Snap. Like I said, this section this week is called The Work. And I know that doesn't sound like any fun. And to be honest, like it is, but it isn't. So like we've listened, we know a little bit more about this, but it's time to talk about how they did all of that. We're going to go a little bit deeper. Instead of just structure and feel and all of the things that they did to serve that big idea, we're also going to talk about a few more rules and then the work that we have to put in to get those rules to work for us. Okay. So these are the ones that I want to talk about very first. This is the math part. We're going to talk about meter. Meter, and I'll put this in the chat for you guys. Meter is how many syllables or spaces do we have to fit in what we're trying to say. We need to have da 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 da. So when he's getting to that chorus, that's your meter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The verse is a lot harder to look at because he's so floaty and so over the top with that. But the meter, how many syllables and spaces do we have to fit in what we're trying to say? And the other thing is our rhyme scheme. Now, if you see in the chat, I put rhyme scheme like AABB, AB, AB, AAAB. Have you guys done any poetry studying in your classes, writing classes or something like that? Are you familiar with this concept of rhyme scheme? So
yeah, for sure.
It really is just the words at the end of the line, at the end of the line, how do they rhyme with the ones preceding, postceding it, right? That come after it. So I came up with a couple exercises for us. Have you guys ever heard of hink pinks, or is that just a really old person thing? Okay, so there's this thing that I grew up, and they're kind of like little riddles. They're called hink pinks, and they're really, really good songwriting exercises to talk about not only meter but rhyme. Okay, so let me explain it to you. A hink pink is it's a little riddle that rhymes and means a different thing. So let me give you an example. This is the best way that I can say to put it. What is a hink pink for a steak stealer? So what I'm looking for is an answer that means the same as a steak stealer, but rhymes and is only one syllable long. And let me give you the answer. A steak stealer, a hink pink for a steak stealer is a beef thief. So now I've got a steak stealer. He's actually just a beef thief. Now, what I just did in that stupid little game is I worked with both of the things I want to go over today. I worked with meter because I only had one syllable for each word, and they both had to rhyme. And that gets your brain shifting. Okay, so now I'll give you one more example, and then I'm going to quiz you, okay? The second one is, this is called a hinky pinky, which means there are now 2 syllables for each word, and they must rhyme, okay? You guys ready for this? What is a hinky pinky for a fake horse? It's a phony pony. Right? So look, I just took the word fake and I found a synonym for it, which is phony. I took a different word for horse, or I took a different word for pony, which was horse, and I fed it to you to try to get you to find these rhymes that are both same in meter and same in rhyme, right? So let's do one more, but I'm amping it up on you. This is 3. It's called a hinkety pinkety, all right? So that means 3 syllables, 2 words, 3 syllables, and they both have to rhyme, okay? You guys ready for this one? It is called, this is a hinkety pinkety for 2 drums talking.
Wait. 2 drums?
2 drums talking.
And is it 2 syllables, 3 syllables?
3.
For each word?
Hinkety pinkety, yeah. Let's think it through. What's another word for a drum, or what can drum is also known as?
Percussion.
Ooh. So can we think of a word that rhymes with percussion that also means talking?
I was going to say conversation.
No,
Discussion.
Boom! Percussion discussion.
Genius.
So that's it, right? So
that would have taken me forever.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, these are the types of exercises that we have to do because we need to say the same thing in a different way. Because sometimes we only have 1 syllable that we have to give to get our point across. Sometimes we only have 2. Sometimes we only have 3. Now, there are a couple tools that I will give you at the end of this little section that are totally going to help you figure this stuff out. But remember this, in order to fit our meter in, we're going to have to find new ways to say the same thing because we need it to flow in the same way musically, okay? So that's the lesson number one now. That's about meter and rhyme scheme, both of those things. So if songs are essentially just poems put to music, let's go over one of the oldest songs that we all know, a little ditty I like to call Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Now, what we've done with Twinkle, Twinkle is this is one of the best, most uniform things that I can get across. This is called, we're going to go over the meter and the rhyme scheme on this one together so we can figure it out. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are, up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. 7 syllables the whole time. Why do you think kids get onto it? Because it's uniform, because it's steady, because it's over and over again. It does not vary. Why does it stick in our heads? For the exact same reason. 7 syllables each time. You know what to expect. And it has a really simple rhyme scheme. One that I call, it's AABB. So your first line rhymes with your second line, and your third line rhymes with your fourth line. And it actually even goes back to AA. And since there's 6 lines, we can go ahead and do that, right? So ultimately, if I was putting that rhyme scheme and meter, if we were being really technical, no one ever does this, but I'm a weirdo / nerd. So it looks like this. A, twinkle, twinkle, little star, 7 syllables. A, how I wonder what you are, 7 syllables. B, we're doing all this in our heads when we're writing a song, right? We're not sitting there literally going, no, like we just know it feels right. We know that it feels right, and we know why, but maybe we couldn't enumerate it before. This is it. This is what we're talking about right here, okay? So now let's talk about another thing. This is a poem. Back in the 1800s, there was this author named Edward Lear who made an entire book of these things called limericks. Do you guys know limericks? Have you heard of them before? They follow a very particular pattern. Another thing, a haiku. A haiku is a non-rhyming, but it has to have a certain number of syllables, right? So that has a meter of 575.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'm a genius. Just remember that. But in this case, limericks, the meter is not as set, but the rhyme scheme is. It's an AABBA. So I was going to go over one of those for you real quick. Like, here's an example of a limerick. There was an old man who supposed his street door was partially closed, but some very large rats ate his coats and his hats while that futile old gentleman dozed. All right. So that is an AABBA rhyme. I put it here in the chat for you. The first one has 8 syllables. There was an old man who supposed his street door was partially closed. The only reason that really works is because those are close to each other, right? But some very large rats ate his coats and his hats while that futile old gentleman dozed. So what a limerick does for you is it sets up an expectation, same, and then ties it all up, ties the entire story up with one line with as many syllables as you want, but usually as much as or longer than the first 2 lines, okay? So I'm going to put a limerick up here on the screen for you guys, and I want you to tell me what's wrong with it. If you see anything that's wrong with it, go ahead and spit it out.
The second line is too long.
There you go. Because that feels weird, right? There once was a nice Easter bunny. He hopped around looking very funny. Now, look, the rhyme works, right? Bunny and funny work, but the meter makes it not feel right? Like it just doesn't feel right. And I can't tell you why, but it's the math that we were just talking about, right? So he injured his leg while hiding an egg. Then he didn't feel very sunny. But even that last line kind of catches me. It feels like it could be a little better, right? So I went ahead and I decided, like, okay, just for an example, just using a silly little limerick, I'm going to change just a couple words and see if we can't get the meter to work a little bit better. So I put this up in the chat here. There once was a nice Easter bunny who hopped around looking quite funny. He'd injured his leg whilst hiding an egg, so now it's grammatically correct. And since then, hasn't felt quite as sunny. So now I feel like it makes more grammatical sense while still keeping the rhyme scheme, and it's much, much closer to the meter. the number of syllables that we need for it to flow. So now I wanted to play with that even a little bit, okay? Because these are all simple ways, but they're all very interesting ways. So now I wanted to use the exact same premise as there once was a nice Easter bunny, okay? And I wanted to use the middle two lines, the rhyme the same. And I'm going to change the entire meaning and focus of this limerick, the same Easter bunny limerick, by only changing two lines. Are you guys ready for it? Right. There once was a nice Easter bunny whose lawyer turned out to be funny. When he'd broken his leg one day hiding an egg, his esquire took his insurance money. So now what I've done is we took the exact same premise with the exact same meter, the exact same rhyme scheme, but I changed two lines, and the whole thing's now about this skeezy lawyer. It's not about an Easter bunny. It's almost not even about his accident anymore. Do you know what I'm saying? So the big idea there is don't get the Easter bunny's lawyer. But in the first one, the big idea is there was an Easter bunny and he isn't feeling himself since he hurt himself, which we can certainly relate to. But crazy by changing two lines, keeping the same rhyme scheme, how different that feels, right? So that's important to keep in mind when we're writing our song. That's why I wanted to talk about the big idea first, because we need to know where we're going. Yeah, we can make it work. We can make it work in meter. We can make it work in rhymer. But what we want to do is get it exactly right to say the exact thing that we want to say, right? So now, just because I'm a super nerd, I decided to just go ahead and change the rhyme scheme, but keep the same premise. And we're going to try it again. Okay, ready? There once was a nice Easter rabbit who developed some terrible habits. If chocolate was near, he'd walk by without fear, twitch his nose, reach an ear out and grab it. And so now we've talked about this bunny, but we changed it to a rabbit. We had to find new rhymes for it, and then I could take it anywhere I wanted to. And that's how our mind starts opening up to these ideas, right? When we know where we're headed, it's easier to get there, and we almost get to have fun putting the work in to get there. Do you see what I'm saying? So that's why this episode is called The Work. So the thing is, we're doing this work. We may only use 1 out of every 10 lines that we write because we want to get it just right. Do you know what I mean? And that's the craft. And the craft is something that you and I are going to get to share tomorrow when we do this. So I know these are very simple things. There's only one more thing that I think I would want to cover. It's a thing that I call best word choice. And the best word choice is using the phrase liner idea that makes the most sense with the best rhythm and the accurate syllable count that captures the big idea the best. And that's basically just summating. So you're going to have to be the judge of these things. Does it have the right number of syllables? Does it really rhyme? Is it close enough to rhyming? Can I sing it to make it sound like it rhymes? I don't know. That's up to you, the songwriter. But you need to be honest with yourself. Can I beat this? Something that I say in a writer's room that a lot of writers say to one another. I think that's good, but I think we can beat it. Sometimes the rhyme feels a little bit forced. Sometimes it's the first one. So the first word isn't always the best word. Just because you thought of the rhyme doesn't mean that's the one you got to make work. Sometimes it's the exact word, but the whole phrase or line can be changed to make a better fit, just like we did in the limericks above. So don't write to make a word fit. We call that forcing a rhyme. What you want to do is make a line that conveys your big idea best, and then make that rhyme. And the best tools that I was telling you about earlier that can help you do this are 2. You might want to write this down, but I will also put them in the chat here. One is called wikirhymer.com. It's basically a rhyming dictionary, and it gives you all the variations, and it also gives you near rhymes that you can look at. So maybe it's not an exact rhyme, but one you can get away with. And sometimes just looking at that wiki rhymer, typing in your word, and then having it spit out all of those options may get your, oh, if I need to end up there, how can I use this many syllables to end up there and still say what I wanted to, serving the big idea? Wiki Rhymer is a great resource. There are other rhyming dictionaries, that's just the one I use. And then thesaurus.com. It gives you other words. If you're looking for a steak stealer, you need other words for steak. What are other words? Beef would have been one that probably popped up, but maybe there were some others. Maybe it was filet. But you knew it wasn't a hinky pinky, so it couldn't be filet. It had to be one syllable because that's all we had. And that's sometimes the kind of corners you write yourself into when you're trying to get these poems set to music to work. So those are 2 really good tools that I hope that you'll use, or maybe even will help you use when you're trying to figure this out and make your song sound the best that they possibly can. So wikirhymerthesaurus.com. But that's it. Okay. Let's just stop there today. It's been a really long one. Thank you guys for setting in. Let me just toss this out as an idea. You guys are at the end of school. This is probably going to be the first summer that feels a little weirder than the rest because we're not sure how it looks. Or maybe it's just the world generally just looks a little different than we thought it was. Like for me anyway, yeah, it feels weird and I don't really know how to process it. And I'm sure everybody feels that way. Like, I don't know if we together try to find a big idea of how we're coping. That could be one big idea. One big idea could just be what we notice that's different. Realize that that's all over this sort of confusing time, but two different angles to come at it. Or we could do what we hope is different on the other side of this. Do any of those spark ideas for you? If we had to vote for one, would you guys go for one of those? Or if you have,
I think that's a cool idea.
is it close enough, or can we? Because I don't want to be the one ruling the roost. I know I am, but Any other ideas? Does that spark anything in you guys?
I like those ideas. I just don't know which one to focus on.
Yeah.
Sure. Derek, what do you think? What's your instinct say, buddy?
I like the last one the best, but I don't know how those big ideas would sound in a song.
Okay, well.
It just, I don't know how to turn this into something that would be for a song. It's like you don't hear people coming up with songs about stuff like this, but we could make it work if we try.
Challenge accepted, my friend. So here's what I'm thinking. If those tracks with you, are you guys cool with doing the last one? What we kind of hope when we come back?
Yeah.
Cool?
Yeah.
So here's what we do. Your homework is, after this weird time is over, maybe it's what you miss most. Maybe it's what you hope comes back. Maybe it's what you hope is going to look different when we come back, because we have an opportunity to change that or to look at it differently or to think differently, right? So whatever those things are, that's how we're going to start next week. Okay. We're going to get together. We're going to talk about these ideas. If you can send them in early, that'd be great. So I can look over them and kind of file them together, just because we don't have that much time together. And writing a song usually takes a few hours. So we may only get a verse chorus in, but I'm really looking forward to trying the attempt. And how far we get is going to determine what our homework is next time. So this will be really fun. If it's a musical idea, cool. But I'm thinking about those deep ideas, the big ideas. What does that make you think when you're thinking about what you hope is different on the other side of this? Is that cool?
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm really looking forward to reading what you guys send to me. Well, thank you guys. Hugs and kisses. Take care of yourselves. Be good to one another. And we'll see you next time, okay? Honor thy music.
Cool.
See you, kids.
Bye.
Peace out.